Okay, guys, I want to talk through how to create pre-sales for new construction. Last week, I posted a video about my favorite spec to build, as I'm starting to do these in Pueblo West again. It makes sense. But I don't want to go do three, four, five of them. However, I would do five of them if three or four of them were pre-sold. And so I did this from 2018 for a few years into 2021 until things shifted at that point. And I'm going to use some of those examples to illustrate and also just talk through the components and how to put this together. So you're looking at a simple house, very, very similar to that plan I showed you guys in the spec video last week. I think the one that you were physically looking at in Google Earth is slightly smaller. And this is around 15. I think that was around 14, but same idea, same sort of layout, very simple. It fits the demographics of who's buying here. Again, I don't want to get into detail on that again. Watch the my favorite spec to build video if you want details there. But we were doing one spec home, and realtors would bring their clients, they tour them through, and they might like the house but want a different lot, or like the house but want a slightly larger plan or small changes. And that is how we'd put projects like this together. So this is on Watermelon Drive, and right across the street on Sweetwater, that house right there, they added the solar panels. That was not part of our project, but this house right here is identical to this house that I just showed you and was also a pre-sale. And it's as simple as we were building one of them, and realtors would bring clients that wanted different locations. So we'd have an inventory of lots, and also the lots on the market we could always go buy, and we put other builds together. So what do you need to do this? Let's walk through this and then talk through the advantages. Well, you need a market where it's feasible. I'm sure if you've watched any of my videos, you're tired of seeing Pueblo West, but there are endless infill lots available here. These are all shovel ready, so it's very, very simple. I can't go to downtown Denver and put this model together, or even downtown Pueblo. There just isn't much infill land left. There's not much demand. However, Pueblo West has tons of infill lots. It's commutable to the prisons, i.e., employers out in Fremont County. It's very commutable to the Space Force, which is now headquartered at Schriever Air Force Base. You have Peterson Air Force Base. You have Fort Carson down here. So you have massive military institutions with lots of young people who have VA loans and can buy first-time homes, right? And so those people often come down to Pueblo West and commute up north. So for this market, this simple 322, the simple house, makes a lot of sense. Along with those millennials, you got the downsizing boomers coming down here. Just to make a contrasting example of where this probably wouldn't work, if it's a market where wealthy people go and build lavish custom homes, I'm sitting in La Jolla, forgetting about the fact that there's no land left here. Even if there were, that client would not be the right client for this sort of project. So everybody, not everybody, a lot of the people coming here looking for new construction just want anything they can get their hands on. They're thrilled to have a new construction house. And so simple 322, 1,500-foot ranches work very well. All right. So you identify the market where the model makes sense. You have a simple floor plan, as I showed you here. Well, I like to have a number of lots already in my inventory, but this isn't absolutely essential. If you have a good realtor, which we're going to talk about next, you can do it via just what's on the market. But I already own a number of lots down here. I've got one right over here that I'm going to start, or no, I think it's right here, that I'm going to start the first spec on. And then I've called all the realtors I know down here already and told them what I'm doing. And so if they have a client that might want this sort of thing, they'll bring them to me. And the realtor I'm going to list this spec house with, he's on the same page, and he's doing the same. He's talking to his network, and he's going to start pre-marketing this the moment we start. I'm waiting here. It's July 2024. I don't want this first spec to come to fruition around Christmas time. That's the worst time to sell. So I'm going to wait a little bit so it's coming to fruition early next spring. But once in process, he'll start marketing this. Every MLS is different, but ours allows you to put it in as soon as you have the permit. So he'll put that up. He'll let people know, hey, if you like this model, but you don't like this location, we've got other lots. We can build it elsewhere. And that's really, really key because I don't want to be a realtor. I just want to be the orchestrator and the investor. And so having that front-facing realtor to handle the other realtors, to handle clients when he's handling both sides of the transaction is so, so important. And he's great at setting expectations and just walking him through the nuances of buying housing because these are first-time buyers most of the time or boomers who haven't done it in 30 years. And so there's headache there if you don't have the right realtor. So I've got my realtor in place, letting all the other realtors I know that this is coming up. And then you need a contractor, right? This is really key. I talk about this in prior videos, but probably the main point I want to make regarding the contractor is they cannot be looking Sky Creek, for example, is one of the big builders down here, and they have a whole front-facing sales team, and that sales team talks directly to clients, and that's what they do full time. And they put together nice houses where they build it for the maximum amount possible and make it as much money as they can. That's most builders, that's fine, but that's not who you want to work with because there's no reason for you to be in the picture as the landowner and investor. You want to find a builder who just wants to pump out a product without having to deal with much front-facing client work, without having to deal with lenders, where the value proposition to them is that you're just an investor. You're not emotional about it. It's very, very simple. And so, kind of as an important corollary to that, building the entry-level product where the end user is just thrilled to be getting a house is really important because they're not picky. Now, my builder likes to build for people like me, where her and her dad, they're both contractors, they work as a team, just charge me a fee on top of the cost, and then there's a huge margin in there, right? This doesn't work if I go to Sky Creek and they want to sell me the house at full market value. It only works if you find a builder who wants this sort of arrangement. So that's absolutely key. And then all the normal screening needs to happen. You need to see that they have experience in this market, building a similar plan, good referrals. They can't be broke. If they're calling you from Home Depot, needing you to give them their credit card info or give them your credit card info, that does not work. Okay, so I've got the builder. I know that they're okay doing 4 or 5 of these on top of what they're already building for me. So that box is checked. And then from there, a lender. You need someone to finance the construction. And ideally, you can find a lender who can not only finance the construction, but can also potentially be an option for the client. Let's say, your realtor finds someone, they're not represented, he's going to represent them and you, and they don't have a lender that they're attached to. Well, if your construction lender can also do their permanent loan, that can simplify the whole process. So ideally find a lender who can do both. And one part of this process that is great is when there's pre-sales, the bank I use will finance them 100%. I buy the land, I pay for the plans, which is, 20 to 25 grand. And then beyond that, they'll finance the entirety of the construction because it's pre-sold. Now, you always want to be careful with leverage. If you're going to go do 4 or 5 of these and they're all financed 100%, that could be dangerous. However, one of the biggest points of risk is the client. The client doing something stupid and not being able to close at the end. And so pre-approving them yourself is important. A lot of the big builders have, no matter what the client shows up with, their own pre-approval process that you have to go through, regardless of what letters they might have from any lenders. And then number 2, non-refundable earnest money that goes to the title company along with the contract day one is really important. And this is also normal. Big builders do the same thing, right? If I want D.R. Horton to build me a home and I'm a pre-sale for them, they're going to probably require a $10,000 plus down payment, depending on the cost of the home. Very typical. And so for a retail consumer that's buying their first or their last home, 400K, 5,000+ non-refundable is really substantial. And if they do that, they are serious. And then along with that, just making sure your realtor reinforces to them all the things not to do during construction that would stop them from being able to qualify for the loan at the end. Okay, so that's the biggest way to mitigate risk, along with just having a competent, trustworthy builder who's building at a discount, is when you pre-sell these, the client puts up non-refundable earnest and you double check their pre-approval with your own lender. So you know they are really pre-approved. Okay. So once you have that, you have the land, you have the house plan, a market where it makes sense, a builder, a realtor, a lender, you can kind of make this system go. And we did this for years with simple houses just like this one. It's very profitable. It's mostly passive and it's simple. It's very, very simple. The first one I ever participated in, I think end of 2018 or early 2019, one of these builds was going, and my older buddy who taught me all this, he had an open house. You know, the market was pretty slow. He had a spec going where it was finished and it wasn't sold quite yet. I remember this one. It was on Eads Drive, or excuse me, Harmony Drive. And he says, "Well, I had an open house. Nobody bought, but there's a bunch of realtor cards sitting on the table. Call all the realtors and ask them, well, what did your client think? What did they like or not like about the house or location?" And so I did that. And one of them says, well, they really like the plan. They just don't like this location. So I said, oh, well, let's meet and look at some of the other lots we have. And maybe we can find a better location. And so we did. And we put together a pre-sale. It was that simple. So once you have this set up, it can be a very profitable, consistent, and predictable source of income. So I'm working on this right now. As I said in the last video about my favorite spec, the time or the numbers make sense. The market has really slowed as far as people bringing these online. There's almost nothing under 400, yet there's still consumer demand. I wouldn't go do 40 of these, but I'll do 3, 4, 5 of them. So anyways, I hope that was helpful, and I hope you all take it and apply it in your own business.